Hey guys, welcome to my channel. My name is Daisy. Today's video, I'll be reading my subscribers' heartwarming paranormal stories. So if you guys are interested, grab your snacks, possibly grab tissues, and your cobija. And let's get straight into it. Hi Daisy. In 2008, my tío, who was like a father to me, passed away. He was 72 and lived with his lady friend, Rosa. My tío never had children of his own, so he spoiled my brother and I like we were his own children. My tío and Rosa lived together in a senior citizen apartment community. Well, Rosa was invited by her adult daughter to go visit their family in Mexico. My tío and Rosa had been together only a few years, so we did not call her tía, but when we did see her, we welcomed her as family. So, while Rosa was in Mexico, my tío stayed by himself at their apartment. It was Sunday evening when my dad received a call, letting him know my tío, his brother, was found deceased in his apartment. My parents, my brother, my husband, and I rushed over to his place, and it was true. The coroner and the police were there, and we were not allowed in. My dad was listed as next of kin, so my tío's wallet was given to my dad, and the police was discussing where his body would be taken. Rosa's son was there too, and talked about how much they loved my tío and persuaded my dad to have my tío's body taken to a funeral home an hour away to where Rosa's family lived in the country, and my dad agreed. So, back to my tío. He was found by a friend of his that stopped by to visit. That friend said he knocked and nobody answered, so he went in, and my tío was found in the bathtub, still in his clothes. It wasn't exactly clear to us what happened, but there was a bottle of liquor on the kitchen table, which my tío, due to medications, didn't really drink anymore, but I guess he decided to have a few drinks while Rosa was gone. Anyways, my dad took it really hard, and the funeral arrangements were on him. We all went back to my tío's apartment to gather some of his belongings. I ended up shopping for a new shirt because I wanted him to look nice, of course. At this point, Rosa did not know that my tío passed away, but instead was told to come back home due to my tío being very ill. Since she was elderly too, her son didn't want her to get sick on the way back from hearing that my tío passed away. Well, the following morning, my dad and I drove the hour to the funeral home to make the arrangements. My dad, unable to handle the arrangements, asked me to take over and appointed me in charge of the funeral director. Rosa's son was there and was pissed that I was making the decisions. We ended up arguing because he wanted my tío buried there in that county town. My dad, brother, and I wanted him back in the city closer to us. He didn't think a young lady should be in charge. Girl, it got loud. Since Rosa hadn't arrived yet, we wanted to wait, so we were done for the day. As I was leaving, the funeral director gave me a brown paper sack and let me know that it was my tío's belongings. Being as emotional as I was, not thinking anything of it, when we left, I put the bag in the very back of my SUV and left. That afternoon, when I got home, I was in my kitchen, and all of a sudden, my kitchen lights, living room lights, and laundry room lights all started going off and on, along with my microwave beeping on and off, the ice maker on my refrigerator making noise. This has never ever happened in my home before. So I got scared and I decided to leave. But every time that I tried to open my garage to pull my SUV out, the electricity would go on and off. So my garage door will get stuck opening and closing. So imagine my lights going on and off, my microwave beeping, ice maker going off, and my garage door opening and closing, all at the same time. I was terrified. Eventually, I remembered the garage door has a pull string. I manually opened it and pulled my vehicle out and drove away. I was so scared trying to put the pieces together of what just happened. Then it came to me. The paper brown bag is in the back of my SUV. I pulled over and took it out and opened the bag. It was the clothes that my tío was wearing when he was found deceased, with some blood on it. When he fell, he hit the bridge of his nose on the sink and bled and fell back in the tub. The only thing I could think to do was get rid of his belongings, so I did. I threw them away in a public trash can. I drove back home and everything was normal. I know that my tío would never harm me. Maybe he was trying to tell me something. Rosa finally arrived the next day and we went back to the funeral home. I told Rosa that we wanted my tío buried in the city and that I'm sorry, but I could not bury him where her son wanted. Rosa, who was devastated about my tío, was okay with it and said that she and my tío discussed their final plans in the past, and he told her, "No te preocupes, mis hijos se encargarán de mí," in which he meant my brother and I. After the funeral, Rosa and her family cleaned her stuff out of the apartment, and she and her family were never seen again. I believe her family took her back to live in Mexico. It makes me think how her son wanted my tío buried in a town an hour away, and how he would have ended up being left alone. My dad ended up buying 2 spaces next to my tío for my mother and himself. Maybe he was trying to tell me not to let him be buried in that town. I visit my tío often and go drink coffee and sit with him. 14 years have passed. I wonder if he and Rosa are together now. Thank you so much, Anonymous, for writing in your story. This person wanted to remain anonymous, so I will always respect that. But thank you for sharing a personal story with us. And I definitely believe that your tío was trying to communicate with you and say, girl, don't let it happen. Do not let it happen. And you stood your ground and didn't let it happen. I am so glad that Rosa was able to respect his wishes, his final wishes, even with her hurt as well. So I'm glad that's how it turned out. But 14 years have passed by, and I know that hurt still remains. But it just makes me feel a lot better that you're able to just go grab coffee and go chat with him. So thank you so much for writing in your story. He was definitely trying to communicate with you. I wonder if he's ever tried again to communicate. Let me know. Hey Daisy, my name is Andrea, but you can call me Yanni. So, my mom suddenly passed away 5 months ago. We basically found out she was sick on a Friday, and she passed away on Sunday. Since then, I've been struggling with grief. But I've noticed that things happen more often when I'm feeling this sad. My mom went into surgery, and when she got out, she said she saw her parents, who have both passed away, and my childhood dog, who passed away a year ago at 14 years old. Both my dad and I saw this as a sign que venían por ella, but neither of us said anything. Okay, so the first thing that happened that was paranormal while she was still alive was on Sunday, like at 1 in the morning. I was with my cousin and sister-in-law at my house while my brother and my dad were at the hospital with my mom. Us girls were chismeando in the dining room that had a clear view to my bedroom, when all of a sudden my cousin says, "¿Quién está afuera?" My bedroom window shows our back patio, which has a 2-story wall that nobody can jump over. I asked her, "What do you mean?" And she says, "Vi una luz blanca y pequeña que pasó por tu ventana." We were the only ones at my house besides my husky Max, lol. We all got chills and were talking about the light when 5 minutes later, my dad called me crying uncontrollably. My mom was passing away at that moment. Thinking about it now, my mom always said that when somebody passes away, van y se despiden de sus seres queridos. I took that light as my mom saying bye to Max because she loved him very much. Decía que era mi hermanito, lol. We got her cremated because those were her wishes and took her ashes to the cemetery to be with her parents. When we took her ashes, it was only a couple of us. My cousin on my dad's side, who is also my best friend, went with us for support. When we were leaving the cemetery, my cousin said she saw a tall man con un sombrero puesto who was staring at us, and then she didn't see him anymore. We looked for him y nada. I asked her to describe him to me, and when she did, I created a picture in my head, and right away I knew who it was. It was my mom's dad, who passed away when she was only 12. I showed my cousin the only picture of him that exists, and right away she said, "Es él." So I feel like he was thanking us for taking his daughter to him. So after she passed, things were really tough. A lot of crying, and everything was just sad. Oh, and by the way, my childhood dog, Benji, passed away April 4, 2021, and my mom passed away April 4, 2022. I don't know if it's just a crazy coincidence or what. Well, anyway, my brother and sister-in-law left back to the United States after her novenario. So it was just me and my dad at my house. Small things started happening. And at first, we wouldn't say anything to each other because we thought maybe one of us did it. This was until one day when I went to the back patio to play with Max, and after around 30 minutes of playing, I tried going back inside when I noticed the door was locked. I called my dad and he said, "¿Por qué la cerraste?" I told him, why would I lock it if I was gonna go back inside? This ended up happening to him as well later on, so I don't think it was me that locked it by accident. This now happens every once in a while. We get locked out, but luckily we always either have keys or the other one is inside the house. Next thing I noticed was the lights. I was going to take a shower and I have 3 light switches in my bathroom. I honestly don't know why I have so many, lol. Well, I turned on 2 and then went to my room because I forgot my towel or something. And when I went back, the lights were off. I didn't think anything of it except maybe I turned them off by mistake. Then my dad told me days later that he went into his room and the lights were already on. He's the typical Mexican dad that has to turn off every light that isn't being used porque luego sale cara la bill de la luz. LOL. The funny thing is that the lights don't turn on and off in front of us. It's always when we're not looking. The next thing that has happened is things getting misplaced. I have AirPods that I usually always have with me. One day, I couldn't find them, and I was going crazy looking for them. My dad even told me I must have left them at my cousin's house or something. Then, all of a sudden, they showed up in his bedroom that I never go into. He loses his glasses that show up days later, just a bunch of little things moving around. On topic with that last thing, I took my tia to the cemetery because she said she wanted to visit my mom's ashes. Fuimos, mi tía, mi prima, y mi sobrina. My niece is 4 years old. Well, I was with my tia talking and my cousin and niece walked away. Then like 15 minutes later, they came back and my cousin is all pale and tells my niece, "Dile lo que me dijiste." This little girl goes, "My tía Sofía, my mom, está en tu casa y dijo que ella está moviendo cosas chiquitas pero poquito y cuando no ven, para que no se asusten." When I tell you I got chills, girl, nobody except my dad, my brother, and I knew about the things moving around in the house. Well, last thing that happened, and it happened recently, I was building a jigsaw puzzle in our little bar area when all of a sudden in the living room, the TV turned on. I was nowhere near the control and my dad was asleep because it was like 2 in the morning. I just said out loud, "Ama, no me asuste, ya es noche." LOL. This is just some of the stuff that's happened. I've also heard her call me, and I've had my bedroom door knocked on while I was the only one home. Doors close by themselves, and we try to find an explanation for them, but all the windows are closed, so no hay viento. Right now, as I'm typing this, I hear knocking in the house, and it's 1:30 in the morning, so my dad is asleep. I know, it's not him. Another thing I noticed is I see angel numbers all day. 111, 333, 222, 444. Somebody told me that this was a sign, but I'm not so sure about that. Also, none of these things have ever caused fear or anything. We love it cuando pasan cosas because we feel like it's my mommy. I am so sorry for your loss. So recent, and the fact that you typed it out and just I know that like that was hard to even just share, write for us to hear. So I really do appreciate you. But know that that's your mom and she is taking care of you. She is your guardian angel and she will forever be with you. Forever be with you. Wherever you go, she will be there. And with the activity, you think that's your mom, you believe that's your mom, end of story. Don't let anyone take that away from you. People can have their beliefs, but that's your belief. And that is all that matters. But again, Yanni, thank you so much for writing in your story. I am sending you a huge warm hug your way. Hi Daisy, my name is Kaylin. 3 years ago, I lost my little sister right after I graduated high school. My birthday is on November 22nd. 2 years ago, my birthday landed on Thanksgiving Day. The night before my birthday, people were showing up at my house because Thanksgiving was being held at my place. I had to work Thanksgiving Day, so I was getting ready for bed, like any other day. I fell asleep in the living room and I started to dream. I was laying in bed and I saw someone peek behind the wall from my kitchen. I started to think if what I saw was real or if it was just my dream. I saw it peek behind the wall again, and I instantly got up and started to walk towards the kitchen. As soon as I got to where the figure was, it started to run. As it was running from me, I could hear it laugh like it was playing with me. I followed it into my second living room, and as soon as I turned the corner to the second living room, I saw my sister. She was smiling at me and started to wave. I started to cry and ask her if she was okay. She didn't answer me. She started to do the floss dance because when she was still here, she used to do that all the time. I laughed and tried to ask again if she was safe and okay. She stopped dancing and just stood there, smiling at me. She ran off towards the kitchen and I ran after her. Once I got into the kitchen, she wasn't there. It then felt like I came out of my dream, but when I woke up, I was standing in the kitchen. I knew she came to visit, or even to say happy birthday, lol. On my birthday morning, I got ready for work while everyone else was sleeping. I came home from work and my whole family was already eating. I walked in and everyone yelled, "Happy birthday!" I got very emotional because I could still picture my sister in the corner doing the floss. I haven't seen her since, but I know she is happy and watching over me. Kaylin, I am so sorry for your loss. First of all, I am so sorry for your loss. But yes, she wanted to wish you a happy birthday, and what better way to do that than her being in her truest form in a way that you remember her, and that was doing a floss dance. So she was like, girl, happy birthday, and she wanted you to know that she was there with you, and she is there with you. And don't let anyone say differently. Don't let anyone get in your head and be like, oh, that's not her, that was her, that was her. Hi Daisy, my name is Carol. I didn't know whether or not to tell you my tragic story about my first daughter, but I decided to tell you what happened to her. I hope you don't mind, but my story will be a tad long. Girl, don't mind at all. This happened in San Antonio, Texas on August 12, 2001. I was 23 years old when I lost my baby. She was 1 year and 2 months old when she passed. At that time, my then husband and I were living with my dad. My then husband joined the army when our baby was 6 months old. I stayed behind with her while he went to basic training. My husband got stationed in Germany, and my baby and I were just waiting for our military orders to go live with him. My baby was already 1 year and 2 months at that time. This is very hard for me to go back in time to that tragic day. It's been 21 years since this happened, but I remember it as if it was just yesterday that I lost her. I remember that day I was going shopping with my younger brother, Chris. I didn't want to take my daughter because it was hot outside and I knew she was going to get fussy. So instead, my parents were going to take her to their house. My parents were at my grandma's house visiting. They were a short ride away from their home, so I decided to hand my baby to my mom on her lap in the front passenger seat. A huge mistake that I regret till this day. I blamed myself for many years for her loss. I didn't put her in her car seat. As they drove off, another vehicle attempted to make a left turn while they were going straight. The other driver was distracted or did not calculate the turn and hit them. Since my baby was in the front with my mom, the airbag deployed and it broke her neck on impact. I lost her right at that moment. I got notified by a relative that there had been an accident and for me to go to the hospital. My brother and I went. I got there to get the worst news of my life. My daughter was dead. The next worst thing was to notify my then husband in Germany. Red Cross got in touch with his company and they notified him. 2 days later, they flew him back on emergency flight back to San Antonio. I was waiting on him because I felt like I couldn't go on with my life. She took a big piece of me with her. I never got to say goodbye or my last I love you to her. I didn't think I could make it after losing her, but I'm still here today. I started doing funeral arrangements while waiting for my then husband to arrive. Here's where things get a bit more heartbreaking. I decided that I wanted to spend the night in a hotel when my then husband arrived. I couldn't stay in the same room while seeing her toys, her crib, and all her things. It was too much for me. I felt her presence at my dad's house. When my then husband and I decided to lay down to get some sleep, we woke up to the TV turning on by itself. There was no remote. You had to go up to the TV and manually turn it on and off. It was right around the time of 2:30 a.m. that this happened. This was the time that she would wake up for her bottle of milk and a diaper change. My then husband got up and turned off the TV. I started crying because I knew she had followed us back to that hotel room. I felt her. What surprised me and scared me was that we were lying on a king-size bed. And at the foot of the bed, we felt the bed getting pushed down, as if a child is trying to pull themselves up on it. We felt her trying to climb up. She had just started walking when she had passed. I just couldn't take it. I started crying even more because I knew that she wanted to be with us. As I'm texting you all this in detail, I can't help but cry. I was afraid of being in the dark for quite a while. I couldn't even go to the restroom without my then husband going with me. I couldn't be alone at my dad's house because her memories of her were there. Although she is an angel of God, my fear was to actually see her apparition in the house. I hope you don't mind my long story, but I wanted to share my story with you and all your listeners. Losing my baby is a pain that will never go away. Thank you, and I hope you get to read this and tell your listeners my story. Whew, Carol, first off, no, thank you for sharing your story with all of us. I could only imagine how difficult it was to relive those horrific memories, those moments in your life. And I do not take your vulnerability lightly, so thank you from the bottom of my heart for sharing your story with us. I hope this story, your story, Carol's story can bring strength to anyone that might be going through something similar, that resonates with her story in any way. I hope it brings you strength. Oh, this was a very difficult one. This one was hard, y'all. I'm sure y'all saw half of my crying. It was just, I could not. Her emotions, I felt all of them. I felt all of these stories' emotions. So that was it for today's video, you guys. It was so difficult for me to finish these stories. Thank you to everyone that wrote in their stories. I truly, truly appreciate you guys sharing something so personal. These life experiences that are so personal to you guys, and I don't take that lightly, for granted at all. Thank you guys so much for sharing and just allowing us to hear these experiences that mark your guys' life forever. I hope that these stories help someone that might be grieving right now, that might be grieving a loss of a loved one, or might be going through just a difficult time in their life. You know, just because the holidays are here doesn't mean that everything's perfect. No, it's not. It's actually a harsher reminder of reality sometimes, right? Like, it's a harsher reminder of, hey, my loved one isn't here anymore. So although we know that, just know that we are strong, you are resilient, and you will get through this. Even though it might seem like the world is crumbling down, you will get through this. So I will leave it like that. Thank you to everyone that shared in their stories. It truly means a lot to me, and I'm sure everyone here listening to these stories. But enough of me being emotional. I hope you guys have an amazing time with your guys' friends and family in these holidays. I hope you guys are just surrounded by love and light, and just stay safe and stay healthy. But I will see you guys all in my next one. Bye.